What's up, everybody? How are y'all doing tonight? I hope you guys are doing well. It is Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, and you know that it's time for you to get your dose of the beard, the dose of the truth, and everything that is surrounding that entire debacle that is our country and the politics there within. We have a lively show tonight, quite a bit to talk about. We'll be talking a little bit about the border, of course. A lot of fiascos going on over there, so that's going to be a good conversation as always. We'll talk a little bit about the Manafort case. So there's been some breaking news Sunday night and today, and of course yesterday, Monday. So we got a lot to talk there, as well as, of course, we have to talk about the thought audit. We have to talk about the incels, right? The involuntary celibates. We have to talk about taxation, talk about the IRS. We got to talk about all of these things. So it's going to be a lively show. So thank you guys for sharing this out already. If you guys haven't continued to share this out, if you guys have not yet shared this out, I would greatly appreciate that. Every little bit does help, and it is so vital. So thank you guys for all doing that. Vicious, welcome in. Cheryl, welcome in. I'm trying to follow everyone that is joining in, and I apologize. You guys are coming in quite quickly, as well as I am just a wee bit busy trying to get everyone in here as quickly as possible. Of course, the phone lines are open. They're available for you to call in, and as we move in and transition into these topics, they're there for you. They're there for you. So tonight's show, I'm torn right now. I'm really genuinely torn right now because I don't know where to start. They're all such great topics, right? Everybody wants to know what's going on with Paul Manafort. Brought the crew. Yes. Thank you. Need my incel intel. Beautiful. Dulce, welcome. So tonight, I guess we're gonna have to start off. We're gonna get the libertarian stuff out of the way, right? Whether you guys like the libertarian side or not, I apologize. We're gonna knock this out real quick and simple, and that is around this hashtag thought audit. This is around the incel demand and what the basis behind this was. And really, the originator is not really that important. There was one guy on Facebook. There's one guy on Twitter, but the crux of this, the basis behind this, is that people were doing things and they weren't reporting it to the IRS, and they were getting away for not spending their money, or so it was thought. And so therefore, the demand, the necessity of all good Americans to go out and point these people out to the IRS to ensure that they themselves are paying every bit of the taxation that is required by them, by our legislators, must be adhered to at all times. Sounds like a socialistic status kind of thing to me. So let's get the libertarians' point of view done with and out of the way. Taxation is theft. People who are able to get out of paying their taxes, not necessarily a crime against humanity, not a crime against the nation, not a crime against others. Allow people to get away with it. If you don't like that people are able to show their bodies in a provocative way and make money from it, and get away from it, why not join them? Why not? And honestly, the people who are doing this, I know it's been vilified, right? Saying that they're all incel people who can't get any romantic attractions, can't get any romance in their personal lives, can't enjoy the feeling of a woman. That's the gist of what people are trying to say. And I think that there are people out there that can do this, and they see this as a momentum. They see this as a justification in saying, look, the state is suffering because somebody's not paying these taxes, and so they need to go there. I don't think it really matters who is doing this. I think that certainly the old line, snitches get stitches, should be something that people be worried about. But of course, right now, all we have is people just going after each other. And at the basis of this, right, at the basis of what it is that these, for the majority, ladies are doing, is that they are providing a service to a majority of men. Majority of these viewers are men. And so they're taking off their clothes, they're showing their tatas, they're showing their butt, they're showing whatever it is that they decide to show, and they're being paid through voluntary transactions. So people are voluntarily paying them for this. In my non-legal, in my understanding of how transactions go, if somebody decides to give you money for something that you're doing, I don't think that it necessarily means that you need to have a mediator taking a cut of this. So, you know, I stand against it on those grounds. But what they're doing, whether you think it's moral or immoral, it doesn't justify you going after somebody else. It doesn't at all. You can say they can't get laid. So I think that regardless of whatever political ideology you are, regardless of who you are, if you're sitting here and you're saying this person is getting away with this and I must do something, I must do something in order to stop this, I think that you got a lot of hate in your heart. You got a lot of vitriol built up. And certainly you need a release. You need to find some way to release that. And I don't think through anger is certainly the way that it is. Now, if you go and pay somebody, right? If you go through clearly one of the oldest career decisions out there, and that is prostitution. If that's the way that you have to get this anger out is by paying somebody, make sure that you put that on your tax return, right? See if you could get your money back and be like, these girls aren't getting it, so can I get my money back? Can I get my taxes refunded because I had to pay money to get this release? But nonetheless, I think that entirely, right, getting to the more serious side of this, I don't think that there's necessarily anything wrong that is being done by these girls. I think that people who want to advocate and want to control others and say you must go and provide this have ignored the legality of these things, right? So if you look at PayPal, if you make a certain amount of money through PayPal, if you reach a certain level of money coming to you via PayPal, I believe the number is $20,000. So if you're making $20,000, PayPal automatically notifies the IRS and they automatically help you allocate your taxes. I believe they'll even send you a W-2 on this. So you get everything that you need out of PayPal, so you're not avoiding taxes within that. If you're less than $19,999, then the government has determined that you're not really worthy of being taxed over. It's not a substantial amount of money and is not really worth their time and their effort in order to go after you and shut this down. And so looking at that entire situation, right, people need to stay in your own lane, mind your own business, and stop worrying about necessarily what other people are doing. If we can get back to that idea, the idea of the principle that I'm going to worry about me, I'm going to make sure that I remain legal in every way and try to go through the gymnastics of maintaining myself in the most legal way possible by jumping through the hoops that has been set forth by our legislators, then I only have to worry about myself. I'm not going to be able to hop through more hoops. I'm not going to be more legal. I'm not going to be in a better situation just because I point out somebody else that isn't doing things the way that I want them to. So I think that people really need to look at staying in their own lane, minding their own business a little bit. And I understand in 2018 that is certainly well out of this world as to a normal ideology or a normal principle that people have. But it is what it is. So this thought audit is completely ridiculous. People who are pushing it, right, you may be pushing it for moral reasons. You may think that it's completely immoral for a woman or a man to show their body to others for payment. You can think that all you want to, but it really doesn't justify taking a wrongful action of going after another person because of those, right? So just at the crux of this, let's just dumb this down a little bit. Let's slow this down and let's care about numero uno in everyone's lives, and that is yourself. If you're not doing it, you're not doing it. If you're doing it, do what you want to do. I don't really care. It doesn't hurt me and it doesn't help me in any way. It doesn't affect my life Isn't it for there's plenty of wise people out here in the comment section. Can anyone, for everyone here, provide there's a prayer, right? A Christian prayer that's talking to the God, and it says, you know, give me the strength, give me the wisdom, and it was like, give me the strength to be able to make the changes I need, give me the wisdom to know when I don't have control. And this is certainly one of those things where the wisdom is certainly the need to know when you don't have control over something, and when something doesn't affect you, don't let it affect you. Don't let it affect your day. So I'll get off my libertarian high horse. I hope that you guys can take that and run with it, share it with your friends, share it with your family, and make sure that none of you people are the thought police, whether it is the THOT, that hoe over there police, or if it is the thought police as in THOUGHT, right, controlling the thoughts and the minds of others. Let's stop trying to control people. Let's stop trying to make people live up to your standards, and you just live up to your own. So while that's the serenity prayer. Thank you. As somebody who's, you know, you guys know me, it's not my cup of tea necessarily. So if somebody wants to type that out so that people can read it, it will forever be in the database. It will forever be in the transcript showing up on that screen. Feel free to post that up there, and it's you will be forever written in the world of or forever written in history on the Bearded Scopes truths. So I would appreciate that if somebody wants to type that out. I understand it is a lot of typing if you're on YouTube or you're on Twitter, but it is what it is. I would appreciate that help. So I want to transition from that, and if you guys want to call in, feel free to call in real quick on that before we get too hot and heavy into this next topic, because there's a lot here, and while I say there's a lot, there's really not that much. This Paul Manafort thing has been blown way out of proportion. And can you guys imagine why? Can you guys imagine why a situation in which a couple pieces of the chessboard have been manipulated and moved is such a magnificent and exorbitant change to the game field, right? It's really not that big of a change, but you know, the media is going to run with the way that they want to, and they're gonna speculate, and that's what they've been doing. So the Guardian came out with this report on Monday, November 26th. So that was yesterday, November 26th. They came out and they said they said what was already reported by Mueller on Monday, and they said Paul Manafort repeatedly lied to investigators even after agreeing to cooperate with the investigation into Russian interference in the 2016 election, the special counsel Robert Mueller said late on Monday. So they hit the objectivity in the front line. I'm glad that they hit this. I am glad that they were able to hit that right in the front to be able to tell people exactly what it is. Now let's see if going through, if they're going to remain objective, or if they're going to be able to take sources, how they're going to play this out in order to ensure that their view and their agenda and their hysteria is what is accepted. So we know this is the only thing that was provided by Robert Mueller, was that he sent a letter and he said, it's a 3-page document, and one of the paragraphs says, after signing the PICA agreement, Manafort committed federal crimes by lying to the FBI and special counsel's office on a variety of subject matters, which constitutes breaches of agreement. The government will file a detailed sentencing submission to the probation department and the court in advance of sentencing that sets forth the nature of the defendant's crimes and lies, including those after signing the plea agreement herein. So what that tells each and every one of us is that they have not provided what it is that has actually occurred here. Why is that important? Why is it important to know that we don't know exactly what happened? Because Robert Mueller, in a lot of ways, has been holding an integritous and waterproof, leak-free ship. So he has just said, look, there's been a change. we have discovered that there have been lies made from Paul Manafort even after making this plea agreement. That's it. That is the entire story. That is everything that is out there. And so what The Guardian has done, The Guardian has taken people, has taken anonymous sources and being able to speculate even further on this. And they're trying to provide a narrative and saying, look, it's all about the way that it's been interacting with the Trump campaign. They were pushing an allegation about it being with Julian Assange, and we will go through that for certain. So there was a report that Paul Manafort went and met Julian Assange in March of 2016. Now, if I recall correctly, Paul Manafort worked for the Trump campaign between February to April, right? A very short period of time, 4 months. And so right smack dab in the middle of that is when he went to go see, allegedly went to go meet Julian Assange in the embassy. Now, the problem with this, the problem that I've seen is that there's been a denial of this being reported, of this being annotated, that Mr. Manafort actually was there during this time. So I think it's certainly questionable as to the validity of this. This was from an anonymous source. So the questioning the validity of this is certainly based off of that. Right, that they did not annotate that Paul Manafort had been there back in March of 16. Now, he had also been there in 2013 as well as in 2015, way prior to actually working for the Trump administration. So it's interesting, right? So he went there and he saw Assange in 2013, saw him in 2015, and then allegedly saw him in 2016. But they didn't annotate the 2016 one. So I'm wondering why the change in conduct, why the standards were changed, and that leads you to question, right? The validity of this anonymous source. If you have no evidence in order to back things up, but you have an anonymous source, are you pushing a narrative? Are you confirming your bias? Or are you being objective on this? So I think it's certainly important that if you have a serious allegation like this, it should be vetted. And the vetting process looks like it may have failed on this one. So what your big takeaway from this entire Paul Manafort situation is that it looks as if he lied to the special counsel. There's people trying to play chess with this and say that Robert Mueller no longer has a need for Paul Manafort, and he's always had a card up his sleeve and is willing to play that card now in order to advance the message, in order to advance the movement, and be able to, maybe he's closing in now on President Trump. Right, President Trump had just given his letters, just submitted his letters to Paul Manafort, or not Paul Manafort, but to Robert Mueller. So if he has those letters and he has something now, right, he wants to push a harsh indictment against Paul Manafort. He wants to push a hard indictment against anyone and everyone that he can. So using that narrative, right, you can see how that fits in quite nicely. The other narrative is that Mueller has had that card up his sleeve and is now that President Trump has released those or answered those questions in written form, now that he's provided that to Mueller, Mueller's kind of at a dead end on a lot of things. And so it is to step up the rhetoric in order to say, look, we got to charge him right now. Instead of waiting until February, he wants to charge him now in November or early December. And so that would push for President Trump to want to pardon Manafort. Now, we understand the entire media. We understand the entire media and the way that they would take that play. How do we think that if Robert Mueller wants to indict somebody and President Trump comes through and pardons said somebody? I think I've already been hearing this echo since I don't know, 2016, and that sounds an awful lot like obstruction of justice. So they're going to stand on that claim. And so I think that right now we're in this, certainly Trump's hands are tied on this. If that was the narrative and that was the truth behind this, his hands would be tied in the ways that, you know, maybe he has to let Manafort suffer for a little bit, wait till the investigation is over, and then pardon him or commute him or whatever he wants to do. But he can't take that action early because it will raise a spark. This will raise the animosity, the visceral hatred against Trump, and this will push for more Democrat support by the public. So the two ways that I've described really go in absolutely divergent ways. One is in strong support of the Trump narrative, and one is egregiously against the Trump narrative. So all within the long game, right? The short game, they obviously flip within those. So it's an interesting way that things are playing out, and I don't think that there's necessarily a win either way. So Black Lives Matter says that Congress can offset the notion by having House impeach Trump. So they can, sure, they can try to impeach Trump, but they won't actually follow through on it because of the Senate. So, you know, the impeachment process does take both House and Senate. So you will not see President Trump be removed from office, right? It would be pretty much identical to Bill Clinton's impeachment. So it's interesting. And so I just want you guys to take away from this, right? The only facts that are out there, the only facts that are substantiated with evidence is that Paul Manafort is in different waters than what he was in before. Mueller is changing up the tune, he's changing up the tempo, and he's changing up the way that he has a grip on the situation. So it's going to be interesting to see the way that this plays out. Try not to accept a narrative just because somebody that you've been believing in a long time says this is the way that it has to go. This is a power play by one side or the other side. It is merely just another change of the pawns on the chessboard. Let it happen and let it follow through. One side is going to be vindicated in the long run. And that side, I hope, is the honest side. I hope that the truthful side, the honest side, whichever side that is, I hope that that side is vindicated in the long run. I hate when we have a side that is being honest and being integritous, and that side is the losing side. And we've seen that in history plenty of times. We've seen that in government. We've seen that for both sides of the aisle. It's not one party or another where the bad guys effectively win. So it's an interesting piece. So I want to see how that plays through. One of the other things that has been coming up, and I'm sure that you guys have all been aware, and you guys have been seeing this floating around on Twitter, on Facebook, on all the different social media platforms, is that climate change needs to be taken more seriously, that we have to stop everything that we are doing. Right now, we have to shut down the economy. We have to shut down the actions of emitting carbon, of emitting any kinds of emissions. And I want to first point off to a Forbes article. This one was written in 2017, but it's still accurate to this date. That according to the 2017 BP Statistical Review of World Energy, since 2005, annual U.S. carbon dioxide emissions have declined by 758 million metric tons. This is by far the largest decline of any country in the world over that time span, and is nearly as large as the 707 million metric ton decline for the entire EU. So our singular country has been able to remove 12 million metric tons less than an entire continent, almost, right? The entire EU. So America has been on the forefront of this, despite leaving the Paris Accord, which many people said would be the apocalypse. We are still vastly reducing our carbon emissions. We are vastly removing our footprint on the world. This is a beautiful thing to understand, right? I've always advocated that the free market can do this because business owners want to be more efficient and they want to be more effective. You can't be emitting all these toxins into the air and be as efficient as possible. You're only efficient if you're taking all of your resources and turning it all into energy, which means you're emitting less, which means that you're wasting less, which means that you are getting more bang for your buck. So the free market obviously has a solid interest in the idea of removing its emissions on the world. When it comes to a government just says, look, we're going to try to make our people happy. They don't care about money. We know this. Everybody knows this. The government, any government out there doesn't care about the money. If any government cared about its money, you certainly couldn't point at America and say that we care about the money. We care about money only when it's the other side spending it. So yes, America is doing a lot in the ways of reducing our emissions, and that's very vital for the future of our world, right? Regardless on what your views on how much of an impact man-made climate change is, right? This is something that is good for everyone. This is good for everything to see this reduction because it hasn't been dropping off markets, removing markets from the playing field. Sure, there has been some government intervention with this, with subsidies and taxations, but you know, we can get past the threat of violence there. It's nice to see this reduction, and it's beautiful to see that we're doing better than France, than UK, than we're doing of Germany, of all these countries that, you know, vilified us over leaving. So it's good. It's beautiful. Now there are reports that are saying that even though all of this change has been going on, even though the countries have been doing a lot in their own way in order to reduce their impact, it's not enough, and it's getting worse because of it. And so it's taking the knob of hysteria, right? And you've been keeping it at a solid 7 or an 8, and you're like, this is where it needs to be. And then you see things going down and you go, no, we're not doing enough, and you crank it up, and you crank it up to 9, you crank it up to 10, you break the knob, you turn it to 11. And this is what we're seeing, right? We're seeing where the hysteria over climate change. I was having a discussion with an actual socialist on my personal Facebook page, and this was his point that was being made, was that we're not doing enough for climate, and the discussion was about Constitution. Wow. So you know that if this is the only thing that they're talking about, there obviously is a lack of, there's a desire for people to manipulate and to control others by making this the most vital part of their conversations. This is the crux of their conversations, of their arguments, of their debates, is that we as Americans, we're not doing enough to be the forefront leaders of reducing this emissions. And you go, oh, well, here's Forbes. Do you trust Forbes? Of course not, because Forbes says something that you disagree with. But we're doing a lot, and we should continue to grow on that. We should continue to do things as they naturally occur. But this doesn't mean that we have to do what has been proposed by the Paris Accord or by the UN standards, or by even what the progressives want, and that is cutting our GDP by, I think, even up to like 10% of our growth. 10% of our growth, just to be able to say we're cutting the emissions. So we're willing to cut off our nose to spite our face. Doesn't really sound like a smart plan. Doesn't really sound in any way based in reality. So I'm excited to see the changes. I think that certainly when we talk about climate change, a lot of these models are built up on models, and built up on models, and built up on models, and built up on other models. And so you have this volatility of trust on those things, and the more models that are being involved, of course, the less trustworthy they become. And this is really where it comes down to, is how many models is it taking for them to get from one end to another end? And so how much can be trusted of this? So I want to transition from boring old climate, from boring old science, from how the earth has been functioning for the last millennia, how the climate's been always changing, and how it's just our fault for this last little bit. And I want to transition over to the border, because this has also been a very prevalent conversation. This has been a very large topic. And so before we get too deep into the caravan, before we even really get into this, and remember, you guys can call in, and if you guys have something you guys agree with or disagree with, feel free to call in always. If you guys remember back last week, there was a guy off the coast of India that went to an island, and he wanted to spread the word of Jesus Christ. He wanted to spread his Christianity, and he was basically killed over that, because this island of people didn't want to be interacted with outsiders, and so got pelted with arrows. It's amazing to me that the left, I've seen a lot of people on the left say that it was a good thing that he was killed because he was a Christian and he shouldn't be spreading the word of God to others, and he should be silent, and they have their island and they just want to be left alone, and so therefore they had every right to kill this man. Now I'm going to take that point and let's apply this to what's going on with this caravan down south on our southern border. What is going on down south on our southern border? Of course, we have the caravan finally arriving. We have people attempting to come into the country. We have people desiring to climb over walls and structures in order to make it here, despite the laws, despite the availability for them to go through asylum entry points, to be able to seek asylum and then wait inside of Mexico as agreed upon by Mexico and the US. And instead, they want to break into the country, and they want to be seen that way. So it doesn't look good when people are doing this, of course, right? So if you're not going to respect the sovereignty of a nation, what level of respect would you have for the rest of the laws, of course, is the big question. And I think that's a very important question, right? If you're not going to respect the authorities there, if you're not going to respect the laws, if you're not going to respect the sovereignty of the nation, there's a trend there. There's an analysis that needs to be made. Now, I understand that a lot of these migrants, a lot of these people within the caravan, they were lied to. It's been well documented that they have been lied to in order to provide them with a path that they feel will give them a better home. And that is here in America, of course, right? Even though we are not a capitalist nation, we are certainly a hybrid. We are more capitalist than a lot of other countries, so the opportunity here is a lot greater than other countries. So I understand that they've been lied to, and they've walked thousands of miles, and they've suffered, and they've trekked on, and they want to come here. Go through the legal way. Go seek the port of entries and seek asylum. And I go through the vetting process, and you go through that process and you show that respect to the country, and it's very difficult for somebody to say you're not welcome here. If you decide that you are going to break in and just ignore everything, ignore the respect that you want to give to the nation in which you want to come live in, and you want to get upset that tear gas is being thrown in order to break up people that are throwing rocks, that are attempting to assault the border police, that they are trying to tear down the walls, jump over the border, and everything else. If you're upset over tear gas, I don't don't think that you really care about this situation at all. Instead, you want a virtue signal. Instead, you want a grandstand. And that is what a majority of the media has done. And I was very thankful. Ryan Savadra of Daily Wire shared this video, and I hope that this is going to play loud enough for you guys. Let me verify while we play this. But this was an MSNBC reporter in Mexico shoots down the media's narrative, says the majority of migrants in the caravan are men who are not seeking asylum. There was also, I can't play it, I'm sorry. And then there was also another interview from another MSNBC reporter that was talking to a woman, and she said, look, I'm not coming to seek asylum. I'm coming to find a job. I'm coming to live here. And she knew that the likelihood of her getting in was not grand. It was not a good one, but there was a chance, and she wanted to come here. I think that being honest about it was important, but you got to come through the legal way. But I want to go back to that tear gas thing. The media portrayed a narrative, and they said that President Trump wants to drop these people, wants to shoot these people, wants to aggressively take out people, and because he's called them invaders, and wants to literally just end the lives of these people within the caravan, as indicated by throwing tear gas and nothing but tear gas. It's pretty clear that the Border Patrol is there to disrupt and defend our borders. It's not playing well for those on the left. It's not boding well for the narrative that they've had. So while they're still getting hysterical over the tear gas, they're also having to remain pretty silent. I think that this is certainly becoming a winning topic for Trump and for those of you who are in favor of the sovereignty of our nation and protecting the borders. It's a beautiful, beautiful situation. I'm excited to see the way that it's all going to play out. I'm excited to see if any are accepted into asylum. I hope that there would be people that want to respect it and care for it and come this way. I see there's a little bit of visceral hatred out there in the comment section, and I apologize for that, but it is what it is. So I'm truly wondering how this caravan is going to be a losing situation. It seemed like a winning situation just before the midterms. The media was portraying a narrative, right? Jim Acosta himself said that the caravan wasn't going to make it to the country, that these people were not going to be violent, that they weren't going to be throwing rocks, that they weren't going to be just jumping the border and breaking in. So Jim Acosta, who loves Jim Acosta more than anyone loves anything, was wrong. Right? I think everybody has seen his words, has seen his actions, because that was the day in which the microphone mishap, if you will, occurred. So a lot of us have seen that. And so those words, not just the actions, but those words really resound in your head, and they really click too in the memory. And you can see that Jim Acosta was wrong. And you can look at the CNN articles, you can look at the MSNBC articles, you can look at the WAPO articles, you can look at the New York Times, and you can look at all these different sources. And you can see, yeah, once again, you guys were out of touch in reality. You guys were completely out of bounds. You guys were completely out in the other ball field. You guys are playing soccer and we're over here playing football, right? They missed it. They missed the mark in a major, fundamental way. And it's always great to see that. As somebody who wants to provide you with the alternative news, as an alternative media source, it's always great to see the mainstream media be completely subjective and be completely off base with their assertions. So I'm excited for that. That's a beautiful, beautiful thing to see. So I'm wondering what your guys' thoughts are on this border. Do you guys think that there's a way that this can be spun up as a Trump loss, as a way to hurt Trump? I'm wondering. I think it was liberal tears gas. I love it, Pink Floyd. It's the tear gas, right? I've seen some people say it's just inhumane to throw tear gas at women and children. I want to break some of these arguments or these discussion points that I've seen. Yeah, it's not very nice to throw tear gas at people. It's not very nice at all. Is there a reason for it? Yes, it's non-lethal force. It's force in order to disrupt or to disband groups of people in order to prevent rioting or prevent violence from being happen. When does the media tell the truth? When they turn off. That's it. And so yes, it's not a great situation to see people being hit with tear gas or having tear gas thrown around them. It's not great that women and children are being affected by this. But at the same time, you have to understand, attempting to go into another country that you're not welcome in and being associated, being affiliated, being in close approximation with other people that are being unruly or being violent means that you may be tied in with them in the repercussions. So it's important. It's important that you go, hey, I'm going to band with these people who want to come in civilly, and the people who want to be violent, the people that want to cause these aggressions, they can go their own way, right? So there is a level of self-responsibility there. There's also reports out there that are showing that the men are sticking around the women because they would rather use the women as optics, as shields, as protections, as a way of hoping that the women and children will be their savior while they commit atrocities. That right there is far more despicable than utilizing a non-lethal deterrent against people. So while so many people would rather hold the Border Patrol agents accountable and responsible, they are responsible for upholding the law. What are the caravan people responsible for? What are they being held accountable for? And this is where the media as a whole, this is where a lot of people on the left have been missing it. And even some people on the right have been missing this. It's all about self-responsibility. Going back to the thought police from earlier, the thought audit. It's all about staying in your own lane. What are you going to do in order to better your chances? And you don't have to follow the lead of others. You can worry about yourself, stay in your lane, and do what it is that you can do in order to ensure a better future for yourself. Stepping on the heads of others isn't going to make it better. Going with people who step on the heads of others isn't going to make it better. It's not going to better your odds, better your chances of being accepted. We have a few TV hosts on here. Do we? We have a few TV hosts on here. Welcome in, everyone. I appreciate all the TV hosts, if anyone, whoever is in here. So it's looking at that entire situation. I'm flabbergasted as to how quickly people take their stances and disregard the objectivity on this. Shit, am I ghosting? Chris Hansen and Dr. Phil. Oh. Stay in your lane and you might not end up on my couch. I like it, Dr. Phil. I like it. So Dr. Phil coming in. Great satire from it's always a side note, super quick side note. It's always nice to see somebody who has a handle that reflects a celebrity or somebody who's well known, and they're actually able to follow through on that hook, on that handle, if you will. And so it's always good whenever you guys do that. So thank you for that. So reflecting on this whole entire situation, I think that people can look at the caravan and they can either go to the extremes on both sides, right? There are violent people. There are people there that want to aggress against America, that want to aggress against our agents, and maybe even aggress against the people of America. But there are also people there that are actually seeking to live a better life, that want to come here peacefully. And so it's all about being able to find out who is who and being able to keep out those violent people, keep out the aggressors, and bring in the good people, bring in the beautiful people. That's what's really going to be important for this whole thing. That's I implore each and every one of you guys to slow down whenever you guys are seeing the news, right? Oftentimes we see news, right? So when I saw Paul Manafort is now being pushed up, his sentencing is attempting to be advanced because he was caught lying, right? My initial thought was, well, Paul Manafort needs to be pushed up, and that's it, right? That's, I wanted to believe it right on sight. And I slowed down, took a breather, I read it, I checked into the news, and I didn't allow my initial gut feeling to determine anything, right? Took my bias, I threw it away. I want to read the facts. I want to know the situation. I want to know it as a whole. So all we know is that Mueller has made this allegation. That's it. That's it. That is all that we know right now. And I can't make an assertion on that. And I don't think a lot of us can. So whether it's the caravan, whether it's the thought police, whether it's the Mueller investigation again, whether it is the climate change, right? Slow down, get as much information as you can. Go and challenge somebody that you think that will disagree with the information that you have. Get more information from them. Don't belittle each other, and continue to grow the way that we're supposed to. If you are able to continue to grow, then that is going to enable others around you to grow as well. You're all good, Vicious. No worries. Paul Manafort didn't do nothing wrong. So he has 12 indictments. I actually wrote down his 12 indictments for tonight. So let's go through his indictments. So a lot of people have said, look, Paul Manafort is being indicted. He's been part of the Trump Russia. He's been a part of Trump administration, right, early on. And so therefore he is certainly, these charges obviously revolve around Trump Russia. So his 12 charges are conspiracy to launder money, conspiracy against the U.S. Thought I was going to sneeze. Unregistered agent of a foreign principal, right? That was around the Ukraine stuff. That was back in like 2012 to 2014. False statements, so perjury, lying. False FARA statements, which is Foreign Agents Regulatory Act or Registration Act, and failing to provide reports of his banking conduct. It's really difficult to look at those charges and clearly give an indication how these are tied to Trump. Really difficult on that. I'm not saying that he's clean. I'm not saying that Trump is clean. I'm not saying anything, right? We don't know enough right now. What is out there right now, it doesn't look like Trump has got much going against him, if anything. But that doesn't mean that the investigation is over. That doesn't mean that the information that is that could be damning against Trump has been leaked. There's a lot of stuff that we, the people, don't know yet, and so it is. People are clearly have their narrative and agenda whenever they say it is absolutely 100% that Trump is innocent or Trump is guilty. What we know right now, Trump is innocent. Presumption of innocence until proven guilty. And making subjective claims or trying to fill in pieces with a narrative is not enough in order to prove guilt. It doesn't hold up in a court of law, and it doesn't hold up in the due process of the American society. At least it should not. Put your head down, you'll sneeze. That's my trick. I like it, Stefan. I will try that out. Should I introduce you to my brother? If that's an interesting question. If you would like to introduce me to your brother, you can. I hope there's not a romantic ideal within that. I'm happily married, but if it is just for conversations or because he disagrees with a lot of what I said, yes, absolutely, I would love to. It's not looking good though. It's certainly, it's been volatile, right? The entire narrative around this Trump-Russia collusion has been extremely volatile, right? How often have we seen the left media say, this is it, this is the final nail in the coffin for Trump? Is this another one of those situations in which they say this is the final nail in the coffin for Trump? When you keep crying wolf, eventually we don't believe you. When it, and we've seen from other sides, from other narratives, right? There's still nothing there. There's still nothing there. There's still nothing there, right? We still don't have anything there that has been provided thus far, but that doesn't mean that there's nothing there, right? We can talk about Peter Strzok saying there is no there, right? He was worried about this. He was frantic about it, that he couldn't find any there. It's at least a piece of evidence from Peter Strzok's side of things, but it is what it is. So let's wait, see how it is. And even if charges are pushed, even if charges are being pushed against Trump, don't say that just because charges are made that the charges are honest, that they're integritous. Do your own verification on that. Do your own verification on this. Mueller's taken way too long. We knew that Mueller was going to take a long time. This is a huge case. This is a huge opportunity. Being able to prove things of the past is certainly hard. And when you have a lot of key players involved, the more players you have, the more difficult it is to perform these things. If it's a big giant puzzle, and trying to put it all together is certainly a huge task. Let's just wait it out. And I'm sure that one side is going to be gloriously vindicated. Let's hope it's the right decision for America, whichever way that it goes. I don't want to make it a partisan thing. I don't want it to be, well, Democrats win or Republicans win. I want it to be, well, the right people won. That's what's important. That's what's important, right? Getting back to the due process, getting back to an actual due process in which people are held accountable for their actions, or not, or released of charges against them if they're wrongfully placed. And then I think that there certainly needs to be some apologies, whichever way that it goes as well. I would like to see that civility return, especially to DC, right? If Trump is vindicated, if Trump is released of all charges, I would like to see every Democrat and Republican who has spoken disparagingly against Trump come out and make a formal apology to the public about this. If Trump is indicted and Trump is charged and is found guilty by the court of law as well as by the court of the people who are being objective, not the biased ones, but the objective people, then I would hope that those that came in support of Trump would say, look, I was wrong, and make that. So I hope that there is that level of civility can somehow return to the American political system as well as to the American society. That is the only way that we can grow. So I want to thank you guys all for coming in tonight. I want you guys to just to slow down a little bit. I know we all want to be on the forefront, right? We all want to be just like the media. It's less about being right and it's more about being first. Be right, don't be first. Slow down, get it right, and then put it out there. So let's all slow down and make it better. Make the world a better place by being more objective and less subjective. Throw your narratives, throw your bias away, and get to the truth and find the beard. I am Mr. America, the Beard of Truth, Jason Lyon. I want to thank you guys for coming in tonight. Thank you all for your likes, your retweets, your shares, your support, for your comments. Feel free always, right? During the show, always hit that call-in number, 802-671-5328. The next time I'll be going live is Friday night, 7 p.m. Oh, I apologize. I will not be going live Friday night. This Friday night, you guys are going to be missing out on me. I apologize about that. I have a wedding I have to go to. So I will talk to the wife and see if we can slide in on maybe a Thursday night show or a Saturday night show. Although, if you guys are around in the Greenville, South Carolina region, I do got to give the shout out just in case we don't make it live before then. There is going to be a gun shoot going on. So if you guys look up City Arsenal down here in the Greenville region, City Arsenal has a gun shoot, an M240, right? One of those big belt-fed machine guns. There's a gun shoot, and the winner will actually be able to win a suppressor. So it's a small charge, $35. Even if you want to go and just shoot an M240 for the first time in your life, feel free to go down there. It's $35. You get a shirt, you get a shoot, you get training on it, you're safe, and you have nothing to be concerned about. So if you've never shot a gun before, or if you've shot a couple guns before, shot plenty of guns, no matter your experience, the M240 is certainly a gun that everyone would enjoy. So make sure you guys, if you guys are in the area, you guys can drop me a DM. I'll give you guys more information on that. But that's this Saturday night, or Saturday during the day. So that'll be an awesome time. I'm going to be showing up. I'm going to be going shooting, and I'm going to be winning myself a suppressor. So you guys can at least come out and hang out and have a good time and shoot. Good luck on winning that suppressor, though. So it is what it is. Thank you guys all once again. I will see you guys Thursday, Friday, maybe Saturday. I hope you guys all have a great night and you guys stay safe, and I'll see you guys soon. Have a great night. I am Mr. America, the bearded truth, Jason Lyon. Have a good one.